Okay, Simba's down. What's the status on Krabos? What time? Get him off the field. He's super hurt. He's no shields. He's about to pop. Gupta timed us down. Stay on the constellation, guys. Alright, so the first skill we're going to talk about today is the Corkscrew. This is a defensive maneuver meant to create distance between a tailing target or to create distance during a furball where you need to get out and switch into nav mode. The thing that you need to understand about this maneuver is it relies heavily on deflection. Now, if you look at the center of the screen, obviously we have what's known as our TVI, or our vector indicator. Now, what we want to do is we want to place this TVI on the left side of the planet of Crusader here on SPK. And what we're going to do is we're going to push, whether it's joystick or mouse and keyboard or whatever you're doing, is you're going to want to keep this horizontal line between the TVI and where your nose is facing. What we want to do is we want to create, with boost power, a rotational movement that keeps the TVI at the edge right here of the planet and still in line with everything here. And so what's happening is you're dragging this TVI around the edge of the planet while rolling, but keeping your target indicator in line with the center of your nose there. What this is doing is it's creating deflection. As you're looking behind you, you're creating that kind of space. And you'll notice that there's a trail forming behind you. And that trail is creating that deflection we're talking about. Now, remember, there are two ways to create the corkscrew. One with the horizontal method and one with the vertical method. Vertical method places the TVI here in the vertical section of your pitch. Instead of placing it in the horizontal plane, you place it in the vertical plane. Some ships perform better in the vertical plane than they do in the horizontal plane. You'll have to find out which ships feel better in those situations. For example, the Cartual performs better in the horizontal plane, whereas the Arrow performs better in the vertical plane. So as we corkscrew, now we're creating that deflection as we go through. And if you start to black out, your rotation changes to the other side. Start to black out, rotation changes to the other side, and you continue to push. This is what's known as a corkscrew. This allows you to get out of danger quickly and avoid fire because you're rolling on a gradual rate. Now, the faster you can push this corkscrew, the more accurate or the more difficult it's going to become for enemies to get in behind you and apply damage. Now, it should be said that depending on the ship of choice, for example, if you are in an Arrow, a Gladius, and whatnot, that there are some ships out there that are just simply faster than you are, and so even doing a perfect corkscrew, they might still be able to catch you. So you must understand the difference between certain ships that can catch you no matter what you do, and certain ships that cannot catch you, and what you're creating is that deflection. So if a Hornet is tailing you and you use a proper corkscrew, the likelihood of the Hornet being able to apply damage to you is going to be a lot less, and you're going to get away a lot faster than if you were to fly totally straight, because if you fly totally straight, I can fire at you from kilometers away and still hit you. But if you add that gradual roll, create that corkscrew like this, keep your nose in that vertical alignment like this, then you're going to look behind you and find that you're creating that angle, and it's not going to be very easy for a tailing target to apply damage to you. Master this skill, and when you're done, move to skill number 2. Alright, the second skill we're going to go over today is known as the pole drill. What this drill is going to allow you to do is master your throttle control and distance control, as well as how fast you can rate or turn your nose onto a hostile target. From the bottom of the station here, you'll notice that there is a spot that is our favorite spot to create this pole drill. To make it simple, what you want to do is align yourself horizontally with that section and start moving your way into distance. Once you've achieved minimum range, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to keep the nose of your ship in absolute pitch control. And the faster you start to rotate around this object, and the closer you get, is how hard the drill becomes. The faster you go, and the closer you can keep your nose on target, the better you become at creating this skill set of motion control when it comes to rate fighting. What this is doing is it's allowing you to create a skill set so that whenever you're engaging somebody and you want to keep them in this position, say you're engaging a hornet, for example, what you're doing is you're imagining that you're orbiting around a hornet. And this kind of point of reference allows you to kind of get a good handle and a good feel for the input that you need to make on your ship and how close you need to be. Once you start getting much better, you can add boost, which makes things go much faster, and throttle control starts to change, but you want to stay as close as you can to this section of the station to create this skill set. This is known as the pole drill. It may look simple, but it is not. The pole drill is something that you must learn to control and you must learn to master, because it is the basis, the fundamental pillar of which all your rate fighting skills will be based on. Master this skill before we go to skill number 3. Skill number 3 that we're going to learn is known as merging, or battle merging for other terms. What this means is once we've engaged a particular target, we're going to continue to stay close and orbit whatever target we're engaging. So on SPK, we're going to use these kind of control pads here as our points of reference. And what we're doing is we're going to stay close just like the pole drill. And at some point after we pass through, we're going to have 5 seconds to make our way over as fast as we can, use a little bit of brake here, and drop ourselves into an immediate rotation onto the last pad in the section. And what we're doing is we're going from pads 1 to 5, and we're rotating through, and as soon as we pass on the next rotation, here we go. We've got 5 seconds to achieve total control over the next pad before we start to roll, and we have to reduce the amount of overshooting. So you want to get within 10 meters, and you should be able to, once you've mastered this skill, do this within 5 seconds. Every time that clock ticks down, you should be able to do this in 5 seconds. So on our rotation drill within a few meters, and here we go. Off we go. 3, 4, 5, and we need to be able to rotationally hold control as close as we can, like this. I'm actually a little bit under 5 seconds there. These skills are super important because it allows you to control your ship and move from target to target, which is a fundamental pillar of dogfighting and ship control in StarCitizen. Okay, 1. There we go. About 6 seconds before we're back in control here. And again, we want to close within a few meters. The closer you get to the target, the better. That's really how it comes down. The closer you get is a closer merge, and the closer you get, the easier it is to apply damage to your targets. So keep that in mind as you develop these skill sets here. 3, 4, 5, already on target. Overshot just a little bit, still pretty close though. Good enough. And continue the merge drills. These drills right here are the fundamental pillar between you moving from target to target. It allows you to develop your spatial awareness. It allows you to learn how fast and how slow and how responsive your ship is. And it allows you to control the distance between target to target in real time. And you get a barometer to set within 5 seconds from point to point before you start returning to the rate fighting drill. These skill sets are utilized in all dogfighting across all different platforms. Obviously, different ships will allow you to get closer and faster towards different things. In this situation, 5 seconds to 10 seconds is minimal, and maximum, like I guess you could say, skill sets. 5 seconds, or less is expert. 10 seconds is competent, which is where we want to put you guys. If you're below 10 seconds within a few meters of platform to platform, then continue to work on those skill sets. However, ships like the Arrow, the Gladius can do this within those time frames, Talon included. But some ships like Bono Defenders or maybe the heavier ships obviously can't do this within the same time frame. So adjust your times accordingly, variations on a few seconds. For example, the Cutlass Black might be able to make it from point to point within anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds. So kind of start your barometer there. So let's move on to skill number 4. Remember, master this skill before you move on to the next skill. Alright, so skill number 4 today is what's known as funneling. And this is a gunnery related skill that is probably the most important thing when it comes to understanding how the gunnery works in StarCitizen. On the channel, we've talked at length about what's known as pitch control or turning or great fights and roll aim, all that stuff. And what we want to do is we want to create this funnel. And what I mean by funnel is a pitch control funnel for your guns. Now, you'll see that I have two what's called precision lines flashing on my pip right now. My pipper is in what's called lag pip mode. This is called lead pip mode, where the indicating system tells me where I should point my nose to get a shot. Lag pip tells me where my fall of shot is going to place. Now, this may be a bit confusing at first, so if you have to rewind this section of the video, guys, don't feel bad. But this is a fundamental pillar between aiming and everything else in StarCitizen. We are playing in a 6 degrees of freedom game, and so what we have to do is we have to maintain our position in the fight at all times. To put it very simply, we want to control our target by creating motion in the pitch direction only. You'll notice that my TVI, this little guy right here, should always be coming up from underneath me and up to my target indicator here. If I'm tracking my target, let's say this Vandal Hunter here, and my TVI is all the way over to my left at this point, then what happens is as I move over, I'm tracking this target in yaw, which means my response between his movements in yaw like this are going to be very difficult to track. As he passes over me, though, you'll notice that I roll my ship, and those two precision lines line up with the direction of his travel. And what's happening is, as I roll my target, I'm lining my precision lines up in the horizontal, and I'm creating that pitch shot. And what I'm doing is I'm allowing myself to track my target in pitch. You'll notice that there are lines, space debris passing over my cockpit, which tell me where my ship is sliding. And so what I want to do is I want to look at this target, for example, here, and notice that I'm going to have to roll, push up a little bit, and I'm funneling my target into a pitch shot like this. Right now, I'm not in full pitch, so I had to move to the right, align myself horizontally, and keep tracking on my target like this in full pitch. Again, just like the drill we did on the pole, I'm now orbiting my target at minimum range. But you'll notice that I'm applying a little bit of left strafe here because I want to keep my target in full pitch. I want to get behind him and align myself like this. Now I strafe to the right a little bit. Now I've got it, and I stay on the target in full pitch. He wants to move this way. I roll, add a little left strafe, look at the debris in the direction it's moving. Now I'm a little right strafe here, and you'll notice that my precision lines are constantly lining up on the target that I'm chasing. I'm essentially flying like an airplane. I want to fly as if I'm banking through the air like a traditional F-18, something, you know, traditional fighter planes that we see here. Now, this works in reverse as well. If I'm flying backwards, I'm still targeting in pitch here. Even though I'm in reverse here, I'm still tracking my target in pitch. I'm adding those side strafe directions to maintain control over the target. A little bit of right strafe here, put myself... And again, it's all about working angles. Always track my target in pitch. He comes over top of me like this. Use a little bit of boost to get behind him and get the kill. The reason for this is because CIG wants to create a quote-unquote cinematic experience. So what we're trying to do is always fly like an airplane even though we are in space. So again, we're going to go through this a couple times here because it's hard for people to wrap their heads around in a 6 degrees of freedom game. Look at the direction of the trails, the direction that the space debris is moving. I always want to create an angle where I'm chasing my target. Again, we talked about corkscrews. This is how you do a disengaged corkscrew. He can't hit us. We turn around. And again, we go back into pitch control. Here we go. The direction that the enemy is moving, you can see him drawing a line with his engines here. Now he's moving up. And again, we always want to match his roll direction and movement direction with our pitch, so that the lines of his movement and the lines of those debris and the precision lines are all matched up together. And as we get closer to our target, we light it up and we continue on through. You'll notice that my TVI, or my throttle vector indicator, is always coming up from underneath me. You'll notice the amount of G-forces that I can pull in the pitch direction are 13, and on the yaw direction is less. What this means is my speed is higher if I roll and fly like an airplane, because the shape of my actual speed, I guess you could say cone, is faster in the pitch. It's deeper in the pitch and fat and longer in the throttle direction, and it's shorter on the sides and in reverse. So we actually move less fast in the reverse direction and on our sides than we do from our bottoms forward. This is to create an asymmetrical movement system in space to allow us to, quote unquote, push angles and push directions so that you can't indefinitely stay at range at people like you would happen in real space. There are no speed limits in space. But this is the game, this is the way the game mechanics have decided to go at this present time. We're gonna do it one more time, again, because this skill set is probably the most important. It encompasses roll aim, it encompasses a lot of other basic skill sets here. So we get into a position like this, and again, I want to move to my right because the direction he's traveling, I always want to match our direction here with the way he's moving. Always tracking in pitch. He's moving up to the left. I want to move to the right here, position myself behind. So I'm always tracking, always tracking, always tracking. Move a little bit right here. And what you're doing is you're constantly staying in behind your opponent. See how he moves his nose to the right? We want to move ourselves to the left. So we're always maintaining this position here like this. This drill here is called funneling, because what's happening is we're forcing the enemy into a funnel. We're funneling him in the pitch direction, and we're constantly moving against him in that way. This skill is going to take a lot of time for you folks to develop. It took a lot of time for me to develop. It's something that I think is really the big difference between basic pilots and more expert and advanced ones. But as a core basic skill set, everyone, whether it's player versus environment or PvP, must understand, learn, and master this skill. Okay? Good. This skill will take you the most time to master, but please do it. It's worth it, and it's quite fun to do. Get in behind them, keep them in pitch control, use your lateral strafes to maintain position, and use the skills you've developed from your pole drills about staying close to maintain distance against your target. Master this skill, and we'll move on to the final skill, number 5. All right, the last skill number 5 that we're going to talk about today, and part of your 5 core basic skill sets that everyone should know, is what's known as maximum turn angle. Okay? Now, like we've explained in the Foundations course, we are existing in an asymmetrical sphere that's longer in the forward direction and shorter in reverse. And what this means is that as we turn our nose from the center point here, we start to draw our nose up and down the shape of the oval, not the sphere. Now, in SCM, we're in a complete sphere, so no matter what direction I want to go, as long as it's within 220 meters per second, then it's fine. I can maintain a 6DOF environment in basically a sphere. But as soon as I go above the SCM speeds, which is the majority of your fighting in PvP will exist outside of SCM because SCM is too slow. So the majority of your fighting is going to exist above that speed. And that's when you have to really understand the shape of the cone that is, and here's the kicker, unique for every ship that you fly. Some ships will have deeper cones in the forward direction, like M50s. Some ships will have shorter cones on the sides. Some ships will have deeper bottoms, which means they can turn on a higher turn rate. They can maintain their speed in a longer direction. So every ship will have a unique kind of sweet spot, I guess you could say it. Remember, I am only teaching you what is currently in the game. I am not putting my opinion as to whether or not I like it or not. I am just teaching you what is in StarCitizen. If you'd like to get part of the discussion about how this game is designed, please go to Spectrum and please come to stream and express those opinions. But today we are here for one thing only, and that is to learn. So let's talk about maximum turn angle and how to find it. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to accelerate to maximum top speed with the afterburner. Now for the arrow, it's about 510, 515. And what we're going to do is you're going to see us start to pull our nose up, and that speed is going to start to drop. So 30 degrees, 50 degrees, now we're going to 500. There we go. Now we start to lose speed here. And once we get to that 90 degree, we're going to start dropping speed like crazy. So what happens is for the arrow has a pretty, I guess you could say, deep turn, which means I can maintain the majority of my top speed while keeping my nose positioned almost 90 degrees from the direction of travel. And what this means is if I'm chasing somebody or I'm trying to get away, I can pull my nose about 50 to 80 degrees off of my direction of travel, almost 90 degrees, and still maintain a good portion of my speed. However, if I pull my nose past that, you'll start to notice that my speed starts to dramatically drop. If I want to continue moving this direction at top speed, I'm going 500 on the side already here. I'm only about 40 degrees off center here, and I'm already going 500. 90 degrees, I'm only topping out at 370. So what that means is if I slide around the turn, I'm only going to be able to move at 370 meters per second in that side strafe turn. But if I'm running here in pitch, you'll notice that my side strafe turn is going to go a lot faster because the depth of that, like right here, I'm at 460, which is right here. On side strafe, we were at 350. Now we're at 460 because we're on the side. And if we start to move like this, you'll see that speed starts to dramatically come down. This is due to the fact that the shape of my speed walls, and this is what people need to understand, the shape of my speed wall is different on my sides than it is the depth of how bottomed out, I guess you could say, the turn is. Again, this is caused because we want to create an atmospheric kind of planes in space vibe because Chris wants something that looks, cinematic. But we as pilots need to understand that if I need to get from point A to point B like this, I don't want to position myself to make that turn on my side like this because the speed is going to be cut in half if I do that. What I want to do is position myself in pitch like this as if I'm banking into a turn like an airplane, and I want to be able to keep my nose below the 80 degree mark here. Because if I want to keep my speed, see 490, like I'm not even getting my top speed. Right here is where I get top speed, 509. If I start to pull my nose past that, I go 590. I'm already losing 15 meters per second because I'm crawling my nose up the shape of that oval. As I increase my angle, I start to pull my nose higher in the shape of that oval, and it slows my speed down because I'm hitting a speed wall depending on the direction I'm aiming. Now, different ships, again, will have different shapes. So if you get into an M50, you'll notice that the M50 past about 20 degrees starts to dramatically, and I mean this with all sincerity, dramatically lose its top speed potential because the shape of an M50 is much more like a long oval than it is the arrows, which is mostly a sphere with a kind of elongated front section. So different tunings for different ships will give you different attack angles. You, as the pilot, need to figure out what that attack angle is and master the ship that you're flying. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is people do what's called free spinning, where they'll engage targets and they'll just start spinning independently anywhere they want to go. And, they might be spinning like this, and they'll notice that they're totally going against the direction of travel, and they'll be pushing this direction, like I want to go this way, and they won't be able to make, like, oh my god, I can't get there. And what happens is they realize, oh, I'm sliding on my side here. You're not existing in a symmetrical space environment. You're existing in an asymmetrical environment that's created by invisible speed walls that you as a pilot need to understand. To put it very simply, any turn or maneuver you do should be done with the pitch and the TVI coming from the bottom here, because that's the way you're going to maintain the most amount of speed as you slide through these corners. So if I'm on my side like this and I want to go over to the station, I roll 90 degrees, pull my nose up, and maintain my speed as I come through. I don't push myself on the side like this. Look at my speed, 350. It's just not getting above that. As soon as I go deep like this, you'll see the speed start to come up like crazy. Already at 430, 450. But if I try to move on the side like this, it's going to move real slow. Already losing speed. So you need to understand that the shapes are different for every ship. Find your optimal turn angle and master it depending on the ship you're in. Remember, the deeper you go in the turn, the less speed you have. I'll say that again. The deeper you go in the turn, and again, the turn is anywhere that your ship is facing. As I start to pull away from the direction of travel, that means I'm going deeper in the turn. It's like watching a Russian jet do the Cobra maneuver. As you pull your nose up from the direction of travel, you're going to lose speed a lot faster. So if your objective is to turn around, absolutely. Lose all the speed you can, turn around, retro thrust, and off you go. This skill is a vitally important skill with the current flight model we have today. Master this skill, master it with whatever ship you're engaging or flying with, and you will find that you are significantly faster and able to maintain more speed and more energy, which will allow you to maintain better positions in fights, which will get you the win that you're looking for. Thank you so much, folks, for looking at today's basic level skills. Please spend some time learning them. Come by our Twitch chat and our Twitch that starts at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or our YouTube or our Discord. It's a resource for all of you. Thank you so much to everyone who supported our children's charity. We raised $30,000 for sick kids. I hope to see you out this year for our second tournament. I love you so much. Thank you so much. I was Avenger 1, and I'll see you next time.
Those are just the perks. I'm Commander Ryan Enright. I fly Navy.